Public podcast brought to you in association with Dundee Cars, Ireland's favourite car buying website. With the widest selection of cars from certified trusted dealerships, most Irish drivers find their next car on Dundee Cars. Mark, hello.
Paddy, hello. How are you?
Here we are in glorious video.
Yes, I'm not sure if this is a good idea or a bad idea. We might delete later.
Well, you see how dishevelled and wrecked we look at 7 p.m. of a Tuesday.
How dare you?
Yeah. Well, I speak for myself, Mark. You look beautiful.
No, I'm. It's a good job you can't smell me because I was in the gym a little while ago, so it's for the best. Yes, no, we have decided to video this episode. All things going well, you'll be able to watch us also.
So yeah, we've made the change from Dundee Motors to Dundee Cars.
What's the difference?
Well, it is more reflective of what Dundee does, really, and obviously I've joined Dundee. I think people know that at this stage, do they? So they're not just a sponsor; they're an employer now.
Yes, good employer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you're not getting rid of the vintage section. Please tell me.
No, I'm going to make the vintage section nicer.
Excellent.
Because that's one of the sections that I love, and lots of my friends, including you, do like.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be a little bit more of a comforting sitting room where you can, pull up a chair, take off the slippers, and just indulge in cars that you don't need.
It's a nice thing to do of an evening, and I have done it. So yeah, we're not traveling. Well, I am traveling in the morning, but not traveling as much as last week's episode, I suppose, which is a nice start.
Yeah, last week was pretty hectic, but yeah, we got through it. You got through it. You got a lot of video content done, and we managed to make a podcast in the middle of a very noisy airport.
Yeah,
which worked quite well. Fairly well.
Having slightly substandard currywurst. I wouldn't like that to be your best opinion of Munich. There is a better place in the other terminal.
Yeah, not that. I have had the nicest currywurst, obviously, in the Volkswagen factory canteen, which is where they produce currywurst.
Have they still got the VW logo goes through the sausage? I think
I don't remember that bit. I don't think I've examined it enough, but okay. Yeah, they did produce an awful lot of currywurst. Yeah. What a delicacy! It's great what Germany has given the world.
I bet you they never had to stop or slow production for the currywurst in the Volkswagen factory
because of a cyber attack or lack of demand.
Lack of demand, yeah. So there's quite a few bizarre stories knocking around this week. So Jaguar have lost 40,000 cars.
Yeah, a cyber attack has hit JLR production. And look, this doesn't come at a good time for the brand because obviously Jaguar itself, they're not producing cars. They are, sort of on a hiatus currently because they just are rebranding. So Jaguar is going to become an electric brand. So they stopped production of their petrol models and they're looking at a whole new scheme of EVs coming down the line. But the cyber attack has knocked out a whole load of systems in their other plants. And the result is that they are hemorrhaging money at an alarming rate. They say that, this will be back soon, but some commentators are saying that could be months before this is back online, and that is worrying.
This seems to only affect the F-Pace because that's the only car they're currently producing.
Yeah, but it's when they said JLR, I don't know, is this JLR as in Jaguar and Land Rover? So there could be a hell of a lot more cars. Have you only seen F-Type mentioned?
Well, yes, but while I don't think they've lost a load of Range Rovers or anything, 40,000 is a lot of cars. Now, when they say lost, like they could be in dealerships, they just don't have a digital record right now because the files or whatever have gone. But then the knock-on effect could affect Land Rover, not in the physical car sense, but in the cyber end of things as well, which is not good.
Yeah, BBC are reporting that it's costing the company at least 50 million a week in lost production. And they said JLR would normally expect to build more than 1,000 cars per day. So that is an alarming number to be down at.
Yeah, 1,000 cars per day. Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge number. So yeah, they're not committing to when this will be back online. But yeah, as you say, that number of 40,000 could increase.
So that was one of the newer stories this week. I want to talk.
Another one I saw this week, just by the by, is I don't know if you spotted about Ford Ford are looking at how they might change production of in the US, and then which might trickle across the rest of the world, which is in relation to their EVs. So traditionally, their production of a normal car, goes along a line, and everyone dips in and out and gets under the body, and all the timing has to be right, and then there's the marriage at the end of the chassis and the engine and everything else. So, but Ford have come up with this new production method, which will involve splitting the car into three. So the car will be in three parts, and will end
So
up in the middle, and it allows duplication, and allows people to be working on several people to be working on different parts of the car at once, and apparently it's going to increase production speed.
are they legitimately selling cut and shuts?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, I think the onset of EVs allows that. So yeah, it's an
Nothing to see
interesting
here,
story.
Ted.
That's what I spotted in the States, in the US. For the US media side is an interesting one to have a look at, and that has said that. So yeah, interesting times ahead from Ford.
Split it into three. Ooh. So I'm driving two very different cars over the last week, and last week there was lots of what's that? God, ooh. And then today, someone I know actually took a picture of me arriving in the car I'm driving this week. Couple of reasons. One, maybe the size of it compared to last week's car, but also the color. It's lime green because it's a BYD Dolphin Surf.
This is a car that was launched officially while we were both, I think, in Munich at the IAA, and you obviously jumped into it early. It's a small EV, another probably sort of in and around 18, 19,000 euro.
Starting from, rising to mid 20s if you want a bigger battery. It's a more substantial car than the Inster and the Spring.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, the pictures don't dictate that. Do you think, though, that there was some mischief going on with the pricing when they saw Leap Motor drop their pricing? It was unusual that the car was just that little bit under.
I don't know. It's your background from an OEM. Do you think they can they pivot that quickly with prices? Yeah,
I think they can pivot that quickly at an entry price, because no one buys the entry model. Really, the entry model is sort of the bronze. Most people, if you go to a restaurant, people buy the middle bottle of wine. They don't buy the cheapest one. They don't buy the dearest one.
I buy the glass, just the glass.
Yeah, like there's, Comfort Line, the old Trendline, Comfort Line, Highline. Everyone bought the Comfort Line. So a lot of the efforts are put into making the middle one more attractive. So the entry model, very few people, if any, buy.
So that's a 30 kilowatt hour battery. I think it's just shy of 18 grand. I need to find out how much the MDL delivery charges is, because on some bigger cars it's 1,500 euro. I'm not sure here. I think with Leap Motor, for example, there's no Android Auto. There is on the BYD, so that might be a deal breaker for some people.
Yeah, and look, I don't think either of us have driven the Leap Motor yet, the T03. But we're looking at the arrival of some of these smaller EVs, and I'll be talking about the Citroen later on. But they some of them feel lighter and flimsier than others. A Dacia Spring feels like a very different thing to if Hyundai Inster. The Citroen feels quite substantial. The Leap may not. The BYD, does it feel more in the substantial end?
It's like a baby Dolphin, and a Dolphin kind of was a small car. And there's a couple of Insters in my estate, and I was walking the dog before this, and I was just having another fresh look at the Inster. I mean, the BYD is also less than 4 meters long, but only just. And the Inster is just a squishier kind of car, and I really do like the Inster. But I think if you're someone who maybe is going to do a good bit of motorway driving, albeit in these smaller cars, you're probably less likely to have people sitting on your bumper in one of these. Although I did have a mate of mine who's in the ERU who messaged me tonight to say, was that you on the M50 at about 3:30 today? That was us in the Touareg up your arse. And I sent back, no, it wasn't me. I would have brake checked you.
You are not doing, you're not going to be doing anything you're not supposed to be doing in that BYD, because wow, it is bright. Do you remember the name for the
It's
color?
lime. It's lime green. So it's the only color they don't charge you for. I can only assume that's to give themselves some free marketing when you're driving around in your car. But I have to say, I do like it. Now, like a lot of these EVs, it really struggles to get the power down, even in the dry. So if you accelerate anyway hard from a standstill, you're getting tire screech, which is kind of embarrassing at my
What
age.
sort of tires do they have on it?
Do you know what? I actually haven't checked. I must see, are they Ling Langs or something? I don't think they would be. Although the Leap motor cars I saw at IAA were Ling Lang tires.
Yes, so because I spotted that when we were recording
In the spring, wasn't
we were recording in Gowan. The C10 had Dunlop Sport Max, and the T03 had Ling Langs or Ling Longs or whatever it is. I don't know what they're called. But
I think it is Ling Lang, and they're just they were on the Dacia Spring as well. So I think they're an Indian manufactured tire. They are not good.
No, they are not good. And when you have a light car and lots of available torque all at once, and if they're spinning their wheels on a dry road,
yes.
Yikes.
But and boot is kind of ridiculous. It's barely 300 litres. But the interior is good. I love the steering in it. It has a lovely weight to it. It doesn't have full automatic climate control, but it does have like sliders on the screen, and you set the fan speed, you set the temperature, but there's a lot of adjustability in it. There's heated seats. Yes, the driver monitoring is a melt because you can only put a shortcut to the speed beeps, the driver monitoring part. And like I looked to scratch my nose, and I opened the window, and both times, for example, please pay attention.
It's getting infuriating to the point of people are going to just shut everything off every time. This is it's crazy. It's crazy how the levels of certainly the Citroen, which I picked up yesterday, has some similar grumbles, but some of those systems are now they're counterproductive because people are just going to be switching everything.
It's too much. Yeah. I mean, is now a good time to talk about your Citroen EC3 experience, because they're kind of all similar cars.
Yeah, I think we can. And look, let me be clear, I'm not shitting on these type of cars because I have one. I have a Volkswagen E-Up, which is actually pretty decent at those longer runs, but I've noticed there's because I do that run a lot, right? I pick up a car on a Monday, I drive from Sandyford to Cork, East Cork, and it's got 300 kilometers. I wouldn't expect a small EV to do it, and yesterday I picked up the EC3 and I thought, right, like I'm going to try and aim for Fermoy. I didn't leave on 100%. I wanted to leave on 100%, but I didn't get the car at 100%. Never mind. Got it at 91, 92%. So it's 44 kilowatt hour battery. I've done this a billion times. It's not like I don't know how to drive an EV. And I was taught by the great Blake Boland, friend of the show, who's a sort of
twinkle toes.
He's an Olympic EV driver. So
and swimmer.
He's a good swimmer. So look, I set off, and I thought, right, if I had a predicted range of 276 kilometers. Now that doesn't mean anything. Obviously, whoever was in it before was reasonably efficient, and I set off 16 degrees, 100 kilometers per hour. I did not pass, and I had to give up my aim of getting to Fermoy, which was 225 kilometers. I stopped at Durrow to charge up again because I wasn't getting to Fermoy. So essentially it was doing about 19 to 20 kilowatts per 100 kilometers.
Now, how have you worked that out? Because it's not like the car helps you.
No, it does not. This car in particular does not have any way of telling you the instant consumption. Now, you can figure it out based on the fact that, okay, I got it at 91%. The battery is 44 kilowatts. I traveled X kilometers, etc. A little bit of maths in the back of a beer mat.
And that 44 is probably the gross battery size.
No, in the Citroen, it's pretty much the same figure.
Okay,
so there's very little difference in that. So, yeah, it's just look. I rang Blake from my EV consultant from when I was charging up. I was like, Blake, come here, what's going on here? He goes, oh, Paddy, it's the wind. So there was 30 kilometer hour winds.
Yeah.
It was 30-kilometer-hour winds coming across.
There are
And
people
he
in their
says,
diesels now laughing, going, the wind. The wind.
they are left. But he was like, Paddy, this is a light car, and you're driving not into the wind, but you're pretty much getting a side wind on. So if you were driving the other way, you probably would have done it no problem.
Tailwind.
Yeah, exactly. So look, so yeah, I pretty much had to stop at Durham. Look, would have had to stop anyway. Again, I'm not shading on the car. I would have had to stop him from White Charge up and to get to where I live, because I'm fair, but I'm just short of 300 kilometers away. So it wouldn't have done that anyway. I didn't expect it to do that, but I ended up charging it twice. So I charged in Duro, and then I got to 80%. I'm not going to sit there for another 30 minutes to get it to 100%. If anyone doesn't understand charging curves, the car, the EC3 will charge at speeds at up to 100 kilowatts. But at 80%, you're down to 20 kilowatts.
I'm laughing, by the way, because myself and Bob Flavin a couple of years ago nearly had a physical fight with a sales rep from Heineken who was adamant he wasn't moving his Opel Combo off the charger despite it being on 99%, and we really just wanted to get a bit of juice in so we could both collect our kids into an ID4. I think he was having none of it.
Yeah, because you're going to get, it'll almost take as long to get from the 80 to the 100 as it does from,
of course,
like, you might have arrived on 25-30%. To get to that 80, you're going to be half an hour or so.
If you don't believe us, watch your smartphone next time. It'll fly up to 80 and then it will slow down. Exact same thing.
It does this to preserve the duration, the length of the battery, so you're not melting your battery essentially. So I was only charging to 80%, but I did have to stop again at Fermoy to charge up. So
that's the killer. Like that's
my sequence of events was I got to Automotive at 5:30, had a chat with Fergus, went over, got a burrito. In Zambero.
Oh yeah, good
no,
burrito.
I should have gone to Zaytoon. I just couldn't deal with all the parking situation. And so I got home at midnight.
Oh no.
So now, 6 hours.
If you were in,
I was pissed off by the time I got there.
You would be like that's. It's a 3-hour journey without stopping in a petrol diesel car.
Yeah. To Fermoy, because to Fermoy, which is very, very North Cork, it was 2 hours in a normal car. It was 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're and again, look, don't buy this car if you drive up and down the motorway a lot.
But I was
not built for it.
I was only talking to someone on boards.ie who was trying to, they didn't have a big budget. They had sort of maybe 300 quid a month. They'd seen a deal about the Dacia Spring. They had pretty much a round trip, but not on motorways of 200 kilometers a day. And I said to them, I said, you're not, unless like you're going to end up publicly charging that car at whatever it is, 56 cents on the slower charger. You want to make sure you really can do that journey without having to use public charging. And they're not for that, but people are considering because they're cheap.
But Mark, the Inster will do it. The Inster is a totally different car, and I've no allegiance to any of them one here. I had the Inster, and I charged it in Rochestown, which is a very sort of another side of Cork. Fully charged it and drove all the way to Drogheda without stopping at 120 kilometers per hour. That thing was unbelievably efficient. Yeah, I didn't stop. And that's it was 310 or 320 or something. It was a long spin.
That's very impressive because it is okay. It's a little bit. It's a cheaper car than the C3. It's
cheaper than the C3.
You wouldn't do that in the Spring. So let's rule out this now. The C3. I would love to try the Dolphin Surf from BYD as well, just to see.
Well, this is look. This is going to be a series. Every EV I do, I'm going to do the same journey because it gives me data. Now, obviously, the only car. It's funny because I from talking to Ferguson Automotive yesterday, the only car that I think I would have gone down and back comfortably in was the Polestar 4. Absolutely incredibly efficient.
I did drive from my house to Cork Airport in the Ioniq 6, and I stopped in Cashel for 9 minutes.
Yeah, another car. I haven't driven that down and back, but
That's a brilliant car. Now, I actually don't see too many of them. I know it's very polarizing in design, but if you think about it, it's quite like Polestar. It's built for aerodynamics. And 9 minutes at Ionity, no one can argue with that.
no. So the only issue, the only issue I have now with this Citroen, like let me be clear, I charged up from Fermoy again, and I went right. I'm not going on the motorway again. I'm going back roads, and I don't really have a huge amount of data, but I know it was performing totally differently because I was driving at kind of 60, 70 kilometers per hour. Um, so driving around town, that car is a totally different beast
Yeah.
than if you hit the motorway in it. And whatever it's the shape, but the fact that you can't, and they're telling me it's a software or it's going to be on a later model. That the press cars are early models. That there is literally no way of telling what the car is doing,
Yeah,
bar
but
maths at the end.
that car's been out in France for a year now. I mean, I tried the Grande Panda in February in Milan. I think it was Milan. Anyway, it was the same thing. You could, and it's obviously it's the same car underneath. You couldn't get it to display the fuel efficiency or the consumption. I don't know why that is. Are they hiding something? Why?
Well, I doubt they're hiding anything, but I think it's probably just not pretty when it's at 100, 110, 120. Those
Yeah.
figures. Because I did not cross 100 kilometers per hour yesterday, um, and I must have been doing 19, 20.
I don't think you'd want
So
to in that car anyway, to be honest
no,
with you.
no. But look again, and Citroen will say, "Look, this isn't that car. This isn't the
Yeah.
car for you." They have a petrol one, they have a hybrid one. Our job is to test these things out, see what happens. So yeah, I had a 6 hour drive home. I also did. I also drove a spring back from in the same trip,
Yeah.
and that was also sorry. That down was fine. It was summer. Back was cold in the morning, and it was not so fun. And plus,
Right.
the speed of the charging meant hours and hours and hours. So look, I'm really keen. I'm in the BYD. I'm in your BYD in a few weeks' time. Not too soon, but a couple of months' time. It'll be a bit colder, but I'm interested to see how that performs. In that, but look, for anyone who's driving those long distances, they're probably not going to do them that often.
No, but it is very interesting what you're saying there, and it's a really good way of testing these cars. If the Insta can do that, and it was summertime to be fair, but it's would be the reason for you to single out one of those cars to have that in the back of your mind. If you ever did want to do a long journey, even though it's a small urban car, it's possible.
Yeah, no, look, it's totally possible, but would I want to do it often? No, because the other thing to factor in as well is that I'm charging at 75 cents a kilowatt on these fast chargers.
Yeah,
So, I've comfortably put a tank of petrol on another car in just to get down.
yeah, and that's it's very very expensive.
Because where else are you going to go? You're not going to sit on a 22 or or 7 because you
No,
just never get there.
you'd be
So
still on the way.
you have to go to an ESP fast charger. You have to go to Ionity, Applecare, whatever, and those are all 74, 75 cents a
And
kilowatt.
like that's the same for any EV. So yeah, you might have a bigger car that can do a better range, but if you're ever going to have to rely on the public network, it is currently, and I think petrol prices, we spoke this recently, they've stabilized, they've not dropped it a little bit. It's just too expensive. Like last week I was driving the Volvo EX90, 107 usable battery. If you were to charge that on an ESB public fast charger, which is currently 66 cents, it's going to cost you €70 to charge that car. And will you see 400 kilometers? Maybe.
Yeah, and if you're in a hurry and you've the shoe down and you've loaded up with people and luggage, maybe not.
And it
So
tows, I mean, in a good way, it tows 2.2 ton. But again, that will, I've actually never towed anything with an EV. There's a test I'd like to try. See how much it
yeah,
affects range.
it's I think it's interesting. All right, yeah. No, look. In summary, as I said, and I'm not downing the Citroen. I want to see how it's like normally, and as a car itself, feels nice. Equipment levels are really good. Steering and handling is quite nice. It seems like a lovely little car, but those limitations are there. Look, even on a normal commute, if I was living in Drogheda and going to Dublin every day up and down the motorway, would it matter a damn? Not a bit, because 50 kilometers right, I might use, a quarter of the battery each way,
It's a lot less.
and who cares? And it's cost me half nothing. So, we were testing something that shouldn't happen. Don't buy this car if you drive to Cork. Dublin
Absolutely.
to Cork a lot.
It's a good time for me to remind people I have a Nissan Ariya in my house. It's been charged on a public charger once. I have solar panels and a 10 kilowatt hour battery, and that car, especially since sort of February, it has been charged for free, essentially.
Yeah, it has. It has. Another thing I'd love to mention is the one I just dropped back and look at. You've driven it before, but it was my first experience with the Dacia Bigster.
Oh yeah.
I really, really warmed to that car, and I didn't expect it. Like, I was in it with you. We did our video, which is on your channel, of Bigster versus used Kodiak, but something really gelled with me, and the Bigster. I really, really like it. It's a car I'd quite happily own. I don't mind the scratchy plastics. It's kind of got that utilitarian feel to it. Handling and steering, I thought, was really good. Really quite impressive. And when you push it on, it drives incredibly well for an SUV like that. It's not cheap. Obviously the entry sticker price is cheap, but then once you get up the range, it's a bit more expensive. But I think that thing will fly.
Yeah, well, I like that at least they have a lot of range options in terms of trim. So, if you don't want to spend 40 grand, you don't have to. I presume you're in the 155 hybrid.
And I got 977 kilometers from a full tank.
How many?
977.
Wow. That's all right, isn't it?
Is it what?
Now, this is also at the time that Dennis, is it Leveau? I'm not sure how you pronounce his second name. VOT. My French isn't great. So he's recently left Dacia. He was a very charismatic kind of company CEO, because some of them are very, very standoffish with journalists. He embraced journalists. He kind of was very cheeky, and he would say, how many of you here turned off lane keep assist on the way to this event? Everyone puts their hand up. Well, why are you asking me about 5-star end caps and Dacias? So the rumor is he was expected to get the Renault job that came up a few months ago, because your man's gone off to sell handbags. He didn't get it.
And he's got, did you see, I saw a video with him this week. He's got very old looking.
Yeah, so I think Salma Hayek is his boss now or something like that, or her husband. So the rumor is he thought he was going to get that Renault job, and he didn't. So he left.
Okay, so he's left. But
he's left some good cars behind, because Paddy Common likes his Bigster and his engineer's Bigster.
It struck me, and look, I know your Irish Car of the Year season is coming up soon. What are the 2, 3, 4 cars, if you can say, that have struck out in your head this year so far? I'd be interested.
Well, obviously the Inster, the Renault 5.
Bigster in there?
Bigster would have to be in there. Yeah, absolutely. And the Bigster, the categories are really difficult these days, because cars, as everyone knows, are getting so big. You could technically put a 5-seater Bigster in the same category as a 5-seater Tyrone from VW.
Yeah,
you could.
You could. I don't envy that task you guys have of categorizing those with any.
Then you've got you've got a lot of BYD product, C-Line 7. That kind of family SUV space is really, really crowded and really, really tough. I think everyone is kind of assuming the Renault 5 because it's just been such a showstopper, but I don't want to put words into anybody's mouths. I can only speak for myself. There's quite a number of jurors on the panel, quite a lot.
The Renault 5 has been my favorite car.
Yeah.
Is it the best car? Inster would have to be up there for me. I just think it's such a revelation.
I'd agree, yeah.
And Bigster would be in and around there. There's a head and a heart thing with it. The Inster, especially given the pricing, is just a remarkable addition. But heart-wise, the car I would love to be in, and I'd love to be jumping into outside now in a few minutes, is the Renault 5 for sure.
And last week I was in Rotterdam to drive the Nissan Micra, which is the same car. You can get the 2 battery sizes, the 120 versus the 150. And pretty much on the inside, especially, Nissan have just taken the Nissan badge and put it over the Renault badge. The interior is pretty much identical. And in one sense,
does it have the charm?
No, but at the same time, apart from the old turbos and stuff, it is the strongest Micra that's ever probably been available. Like, it's got a lovely interior, it's got bucket seats, it's got two-tone roof, it's got things that Nissan Micras just didn't really have. I mean, you could get Bose speakers in the last few models and stuff. There was, and some people have said it's still too posh. Like, there needs to be a trim level that just has hubcaps on it, because in the old days you would have got a Nissan Micra with hubcaps, not diamond cut alloy wheels. But driving it for a couple of hours in Rotterdam, which is a very cool place to go to, by the way,
don't think I've been.
I just felt the Renault just has something else. Like, I drove the car for a week here at home, went through down along the Boyne River, some lovely twisty roads, proper driving roads, and I just thought, this is a great little car. And it doesn't matter really what powers it. It was just a good little car to drive.
When is Micra coming here? So
Micra will probably be in the country before the end of December. They haven't announced pricing on it yet. Like, some people don't like the design. It has these kind of winky eyes on it. I mean, they've done what they can with the exterior. They've just put this gelato scoop along the side of it, which is meant to look like one of those ice cream things. They've done what they can. But as someone said to me, if you'd never seen a Renault 5 and you jumped into that Micra, you'd be really, really impressed. And it's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, it is. I don't envy its task, because you're kind of like, well, why would I not just get the Renault 5? Because it's Dacia. But I suppose for some people, they might want something that's a little bit more subtle.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Micra is more subtle, but maybe it has maybe it's a different type of heritage. Like the 5 is sort of a cutesy charm, and the Micra is a kind of, oh, sure, I had a Micra, I don't know whether there's that sort of love for it.
And we're, myself and Adam, who works in Nissan, we're just having a chat. Like, they did have a reputation as being a bit of a granny's car. Has it gone away enough to shake that image? Does it need marketing? Should it have gotten a name change to kind of just firmly put that granny association to bed? It's definitely a funkier car than it ever has been. But it's just, I think the thing they have to do, and unfortunately in Ireland it's going to be a tricky one. If Nissan came out with the Micra and it was considerably cheaper than the Renault 5, that would give it an edge. In Ireland, they're selling them out of the same house, in the same agencies, with the same Windsor brand. You can't, like, if you announce the Micra's $3,000 cheaper than Renault, the Renault staff are not going to talk to you at the Christmas party.
But I think you're right. I think the point you made earlier on, if they did have it as a pared back, and I don't know how much scope they have in paring it back, but if it was the pared back option of the range, that 23, 24 with a bit of kit on it, then it could be interesting for people. Yeah, and I think there's a real prospect of EVs at this size becoming more appealing to younger drivers and more appealing to those sort of second cars in the family, because they offer so much. They're cheap to run. They're really well equipped safety wise. Insurance is, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not a problem, but it's less of a problem than some. So yeah, there's potential for that.
I also by the way, so I had my first ever. I'm somewhat cultured, but I could definitely be more cultured. Have you ever tried bitterballen?
No.
So bitterballen. So we after we were finished at 2:00 filming, we got to Rotterdam really early. I went off, shot some nice footage. Stunning place. Came back 2:00 done. We had an Aer Lingus flight of 5. Well, we were booked on the 9:00, but we could have done the 5, and we're like, oh, we'll rush and we could get dinner or whatever. So jumped on the train, Rotterdam to Amsterdam, 46 minutes. They have access to so many drugs in that city, yet there's no trouble on the public transport. All we have in Ireland is alcohol officially, and like you're taking your life into your hands.
Everyone's just very zen and calm.
I just thought it was remarkable, the difference. But anyway, so we got to Amsterdam. So there's this food called bitterballen. So basically it's meat or vegetables. It's kind of like arancini, but it's slightly different. There's crispy breadcrumbs on the outside. You get some pickles with it, and you get some pickled onions with it, and you get a side dish of mustard, like Dijon mustard. Anyway, it's a thing in Amsterdam. There's a lot more to that city than...
Where do I sign up?
The other things.
The other things, exactly. Yeah, with other things this week, I saw Cannonball span through East Cork.
Yeah, did you go and have a look?
I went down to Ballymaloe to have a look. Bumped into the lovely Anna Daly, who is their brand ambassador for Cannonball. Lots of like there was the odd couple of interesting cars, but an awful lot of Range Rovers, which for me
Really?
just classify as okay. Now they could be crew cars or they could be others, but there was just an awful lot of black Range Rovers. They had the McLaren Senna was there,
Wow.
which was very impressive amongst others. But yeah, look, good cause. Jack and Jill as the charity, Circle K were heavily behind it. It lashed drain when I was there, but yeah, you never got involved? You never done it, have you?
No, someone asked me many years ago, and I had my M3, but at the time I was just about able to keep the M3 afloat, and to take part in Cannonball in 2009, I think it was about €1,500.
Right.
And I was just going, it's a lot of money. I did do Bumblebee a couple of years ago. Audi Ireland actually gave me a lovely Audi RS3 for that event. So no, I've never done Cannonball. I think Bumblebee is a bit of a smaller event. Like it's amazing how the thought process that goes behind things like Bumblebee and Cannonball, even to get all these cars in and out of the hotel car park that you're having lunch at.
Oh, the logistics are insane.
To keep it moving, like it's insane.
Yeah, even down in Ballymaloe, I could see them, parking the Senna on the grass, and I was sort of thinking in my head, it rains here, that's not coming out.
Yeah. Paddy will come along in a Citroen EC3 and tow you out.
I was in the Bigster. I felt very smug.
Oh, you might have. Yeah,
exactly. What else have you been driving recently?
So just dropped back the EX90 from Volvo, which I finally got to drive because that has been a car that has been delayed quite a bit.
Are we able to talk about the news yet?
No.
Should I shut up?
No.
I'll shut up. Never mind.
No. 23rd of September.
Right. Okay. So
just
it looks great.
Don't order one yet.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe hold off on that purchase.
Yeah, till the 23rd,
in case there's a reason for that. But look, it's a good looking car. It's not you can crash it into something and you're gonna be alive at the end. It's just fabulous. So
yeah, air suspension, twin motored. Mine was the performance one, so 500 plus brake horsepower. Insanely comfortable. I did see something. There's a guy called Marcus Brownie who's a huge dude on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I watch his. He does lots of products, Apple products, gadgets, but he also does cars too.
So there's a huge big lidar sensor on the front of the EX90. So it's easily confused. And it has like 14 ultrasonic cameras and sensors and all the rest. But he put up a video the other day, and a guy I know tagged me in it. And so he now has Orion's belt in his phone that he's currently testing. And he is fairly sure it's from the LiDAR sensor in that car that emits these kind of beams and lasers. And obviously it's constantly swabbing for information. Like the Volvo can pick up a human 250 meters down the road in pitch dark and can tell you there's a pedestrian coming in front of you. Wow. So if you do manage to buy yourself an EX90 and you're taking a video, I think particularly with phones, with smartphones, because the sensor is a lot more vulnerable than an SLR. He is claiming, now I don't know if he's wrong or right, but I just thought it was an interesting thing. But back to the car, 7 seats, loads of space. Anything annoy me in it? I'll tell you now, because I always take notes when I'm just about to film, just to kind of sit there, inhale the car, so to speak, and go, right, if I was buying this now, looking around, and then thinking of the week gone by, what was good, what was bad. So, it doesn't have vehicle to load yet. Is that coming? Is that not coming? They say the car is fully equipped for autonomous driving, but obviously it's not available yet. So they say the engineers involved say that car will actually get better with time with over-the-air updates, because even under the mirrors, it has the Audi-looking digital camera arms, but they're not for mirrors; they're actual sensors. So there's been well documented that the car had a lot of software bugs. I didn't encounter anything. Now, that's not the case when that car came out. I think even the CEO has now left Jim, said that they will never release a car the way they did with the EX90 again.
Right, okay. It's going to be an interesting test. And we know that, certainly looking at EV pricing used, it's starting to plateau. So there was a real dip in used values because manufacturers were messing around with pricing.
This is your done deal cars analytics coming in now. This is good. This is good, though. This is good intel.
However, I'm wondering, with cars like these 6-figure EVs,
Yeah.
if are these going to be steady yet? And that's remains to be seen. We don't know, because you have to be thinking, right? If you are looking at a car like this, which is what, 120,
117 currently.
yeah. So what is that? Is that going to be worth that in 3 years' time? If you're buying a 3-year-old one,
Any
best one
car,
in the world.
is going to devalue. A neighbor of mine has a 232 Targa and he's trading it in for an M5. And I winced when he told me. I was like, how much are they giving you for it?
Well, he shouldn't be doing that. That's just insane.
I know.
But
I told him he's insane.
But the XC90 held its value incredibly well, especially obviously when they get older, they're
no. But a friend of mine bought one that was a couple of years old, and he still paid, I think, 60 odd grand.
Big wedge for it. So I wonder, is that going to be the same with models like this? Is the change? Is it going to be a change? Obviously, Kia, the likes of Kia EV9, Hyundai Ioniq 9. I think the sweet spot for me is around the size of the Kia EV6. That car has been really, really good at holding its value. At the bigger end, we don't have enough data yet, but I think that's going to be an interesting time. The used EV issue, if there is one in inverted commas, is not going to last forever, for sure.
No, I mean, if you go on to Dundee Cars now and have a look for an EV9, you really won't find one. I don't know if we spoke about this or
we tried it one day on the pod. Yeah. We said, I wonder how much a second-hand one is, and
they're not there. Now, it is too new. If you got one of those cars, you probably didn't even get it until 2024. It's early days. If it's on a PCP, it's not coming back yet. I think in the short term, these cars are probably okay because there just won't be enough of them. You'd be a fool also, though, to think that your €117,000 Volvo EX90 is not going to depreciate. Of course it is. I think I'd probably look at XC90 values to try and mirror that. But on a good day, I think that EX90, for me at least, and we are into September now, it's not the warmest weather anymore. It was probably a 450 kilometer range car. It's sold as like Volvo have claimed, in an urban environment, you do 800 kilometers. I just don't see that.
No, and look, I'm not asking the question based on you losing the value of it. Lots of people who own those cars, especially, keep them for a very long time.
Yeah.
My point is, if you're a buyer, and my point currently about the used EV values is there's a real bargains out there to be had, and I don't think that situation is going to last. I was looking at 2-year-old Mini Coopers today. So a 2-year-old Mini Cooper EV level 2 racing green, loads of kit on it, is 21,000 change. The petrol equivalent is 32,950. Now that's incredible difference. They're virtually the same cars in flavor. One's electric flavored, one's petrol. The equipment levels are comparable. Now the range isn't brilliant on that Mini,
no,
at all. But if it suits you, it's 50% cheaper.
Yeah, and if you can charge at home, it's 90% cheaper to run.
Yeah. So that situation just won't last.
Similarly, you can there's Taycans now popping up in places like Spirit Motors, Bluegate Motors, who are associated with Frank Keane, so reputable dealer, and they have some beautiful Taycans coming in for 54 grand. Loads of warranty still left on the batteries. It was a 120 grand car not so long ago. I know that's the premium end of things. Yeah, I suppose if you can afford, it's the old adage, if you can afford an EX90 new, you're not too worried about the appreciation of it. But is it going to be a 30 grand car in 3 years' time? No. Will it be a 70 grand car in 3 years' time? Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
That's still a big hit, though.
Yeah, it is a big hit, and it's obviously, but it's going to be interesting to watch this space in terms of how that, because we are seeing new genres of EVs coming along all the time. There was the Taycan, there was the Audi e-tron, but we weren't seeing the big EV SUVs, no big EV 7-seater SUVs.
Yeah,
so these new genres are coming along,
and it's still also quite an underserved segment as well in terms of EVs. So I think short term you might be all right. Right, this has only been part one of the Drivers Public podcast in association with Dundee Cars. More in just a minute. Welcome back to the Drivers Republic podcast, brought to you in association with Dundeel Cars, Ireland's favourite website for car buying. With more certified trusted dealers than anywhere else, you're sure to find the right car for you on dundeel.ie.
That is true.
All
for
true.
sure. Yep.
Everything I said.
So, Mark, interesting video I saw earlier on, which had your lovely face in it, and it was talking about a couple of things. You had done a really interesting video during the last couple of weeks on your Porsche 911 and the repair costs of it, etc. And it really seemed to be a video that picked up and took off. And it got me thinking. You were talking in the video about thanking your followers and thanking for the feedback and I just wanted to chat to you as someone who makes a living from this, about your experiences and how things have changed in this space. We've chatted before about influencers being paid and the likes, but as someone who, there's lots of people who'd be listening thinking, oh, I'd love to make videos, or I'd love to do YouTube, or I'd love to make this for a living. How difficult is it, and how is it changing?
It is difficult, and it takes a long time to get subscribers, unless you're buying them.
No one would do that, surely.
I don't know, Paddy. I don't know. So yeah, it's like anything. Like anything that is rewarding is hard work. And is it rewarding? Yes. Like I went from a job, full-time radio, quite stressful. J&L radio figures every 3 months, where you're kind of getting your leaving cert results every 3 months, and it is stressful. I was getting up at 5 a.m, high stress, high. Again, very rewarding, lovely that people would make you part of their daily routine and all that. And then the opportunity to totally change. And I was like, right. And I think I turned 41. So now I say to people, even if I leave, so you collect a car and a press car on a Monday, obviously, if you're just doing one car, and you drop back in the Monday morning. I can now get up on a Monday morning really early, drive to the Dublin mountains, film with the wind and the trees and nature. And this time of year, there's leaves everywhere. And that's your job. And you're going to go, I'm here. Yes, I'm freezing. It could be wet, but I know I'm going to make a video out of this that's going to ultimately be my wage for today once it's edited and it's online or whatever. And there's something very, very liberating about that. You don't have the certainty, obviously, of having an employer as such. And that's why, I'm very appreciative to people like Dundeel Motors who kindly sponsor us here. And you might get other opportunities, whether it's from a tire company or hosting an MC event for Simi, which I did earlier on the year. They're all lovely little things that top up, and I'm lucky to do some work on Radio Nova and Classic Hits as well. But by and large, my money is coming from YouTube now, which is kind of scary, just to work for yourself. And I remember Bob Flavin years ago telling me, you'll never want to go back to working for someone else. And that does ring true, but there's a lot of uncertainty with it. So yes, you can pretty much make a living from it. I wouldn't say in Ireland, I was only talking to someone about this yesterday. If you're in the UK, you just have more opportunities. It's not that the viewers are different. I get a lot of viewers from the UK, which is great. You just don't get access to the same press cars. If I was living in the UK, I would have Porsche giving me cars. I would have Ferraris giving me cars, and Aston Martins. Not necessarily that you need those cars in your channel, but you just would have a better mix of more exotic stuff. I look at people like Joe Akil's, Petrol Ped, who I know quite well. They get everything. They get a glut of EVs, but they also get the high-end stuff. And I think that's that lovely mix that people are looking for in 2025. I do get the sense that people are a little bit fatigued with EVs in a way. That said, in the last few months, YouTube gives you analytics for everything. The biggest performing car video, apart from the 911 video, which is I'm totally shocked at, has been the MGS5 video I did. So that, while yes, EV sales are not massive, when you take YouTube as a medium, it's not just in Ireland. There clearly is an interest in certain types of EVs. But I think it's harder now than it was even 5 or 6 years ago to get the same level of interest in EVs as you would have. There were some EVs a few years ago, but you had mixes. You had Skoda Kodiaqs in diesel. You had Ford Fiesta STs. One of the biggest performing videos I've made is the ST, a cracking car, and it wasn't even 30 grand. So, and I'm now being a bit, maybe, and I will be certainly in 2026, I'm probably a bit more selective into even press trips I go on. Like I was asked to go on a press trip today for a performance EV car that even I just don't know if is it worth my time, their time, going there, and it might produce 4,000 views, and I'm away from my family for 2 days, and I'm kind of starting to learn you have to box clever here. And that feedback video I did, like I asked someone I know in Volkswagen who works commercially, but they have a lovely GTI Club Sport, and he was like, "You can have my Club Sport whenever you want and make a video with it." And it's not a press car, but I know that car will work for me because there's interest in it. I would happily take a used Golf R that's 4 or 5 years old now off the back of that feedback video I did. And I'm very interested in still doing new press cars, but I am now just going to try and mix things up a bit.
But because it's interesting, the criteria that there exist for reviewing an EV in particular are very different. You start looking at much different things, but they're all very much in line with other cars. So, right, you've no audio clues of an engine. It doesn't make a sound unless they've added a synthetic one. You're looking at things like how far does it go, how big is the battery, which are something like you would talk about an appliance, and they're not the type of things that necessarily make your pulse go faster.
No.
And I think that's might be some of the reasons why there's been a real interest in retro cars, 80s cars, 90s cars. You look at the success of Aaron on Retro Garage and other channels in the UK as well, where you're seeing a real resurgent and a real love for cars that had not so much ADAS, not so much they had a petrol engine that made a good sound, and I think there was a sweet spot where we're going to start seeing people look back a little bit more, because what do you say in some of the EVs compared to each other?
Yeah, I mean, well, like, and I'm always trying to find that unique thing, and I started using a measure tape, although I did see that on Autogafil, but it is a good idea for the boot. But what I've now started to do with EVs, and I did it with the Volvo, so there's a dB meter on iPhones and on your Apple Watch. So I'm now seeing, okay, so like compared to the Ioniq 9, which you might be considering, the Volvo was like 59 dB on a motorway, and that's
interesting.
Very quiet. Now that might be worth something to somebody, I don't know, but you are versus, I know if I was rallying around the mountains in the Club Sport, it would be all about the pops and the bangs and how it makes you feel, and the car that you actually want to go for a blast on a Sunday morning in. You could do the same video with a 20-year-old Mazda MX-5. Like, I have thought, like, if I was guaranteed I could buy a sports car and sell it in 2 months' time, use it for the channel, make it a business expense and get my money back, I would do it. But again, we're in a smaller kind of market. Like I since I did that Porsche video, a couple of people reached out and wanted to buy it, and one, someone has made a very serious offer on it, and we're chatting, and I've always really fancied a Honda S2000, and there is one for sale in the north that is gorgeous.
What a car!
It's €25,000 plus the guesswork of VRT, because they took most Porsches and things like Honda S2000s off the calculator a few years ago, so they can literally pick a number out of the air. So if I was to buy the S2000, it could end up being a €40,000 car, and I don't think it's worth that. Like,
no,
you tell someone,
and the Porsche is just going to keep going up in value as well. So you sit on that car. It's only gone one way. Like, it's all gone crazy.
I spoke to a guy yesterday who has a 911 Turbo and a Boxster Anniversary, and he said to me, "You are effing mad if you sell that car."
Well, I'm saying the same thing. But,
he said, you're going to regret it. He said, if you keep it for another year, he said, get the bits that need to be done to it. He said, do the brakes and discs yourself, because I think my battery light's out. Oh, let's go back on. Do your brake and discs yourself, and you'll get another video out of that. And he just said, if you keep it for another year, you're not going to lose anything on it anyway. He said, don't pay the tax for 12 months. Take it off the road for half the year. Do what I do. And they are all very worthy things. But at the back of my head also, I was like, but what if something else got, like, if I get these bits done and something else goes wrong, do I want that? And it may not go wrong. I'm being very negative about the whole thing here.
But there is the argument, as a content creator, as you've alluded to, is there merit in you deciding, okay, right, well, I'm going to sell this car and I'm going to look for the S2000. I'm going to document the journey
Yeah,
and the VRT and the headaches, and then I'm going to drive that for 3-4 months. Then I'm going to go buy a Land
yeah,
Rover Defender
yeah.
or whatever,
I
whatever.
just
You know,
there has been one or two cars in my life that I have sold maybe too early into my ownership, and I have really, really regretted it. And I look, I think the 911 would be there. And these are very first world problems. It is a 20-year-old car. It's not it's not brand new or anything. But look, it still has the expense of what it was when it was new in terms of putting it right again. So so yeah, I just think, and it's great to have these cars on the drive to maybe add them into the mix on the channel, and that's probably what I will be doing. If you wanted to start today doing it, I would absolutely say do it. Yes, I think like in Ireland especially, we need more video creators. We need more people, especially women. There's not enough women doing it.
definitely
Um,
not. Yeah.
it doesn't have to be with the fanciest of camera equipment. I started with GoPros, and I hate GoPros, but they were fine. So it doesn't have to be this big expense. And just once you can tell a good story and be yourself and have a bit of personality, and like even that video, I from feedback from people, sometimes you kind of go into this formulaic car reviewer. We've all watched Top Gear. We've grown up watching these things, and you can slip into maybe just being a bit too polished. So I'm even just trying to be even a bit more of myself. I'm people are saying, oh, like, try to be a bit funnier. Like, well, you can only be your personality. Like, but
Exactly.
can you inject a bit more yourself in? Yeah. Can you be a bit more over the top with your opinions? Yeah, of course you can. But like I saw something today. So Harry Metcalf and Jeremy Clarkson made a video together a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Did we not talk about this the
No,
weekend?
so
I thought I sent it to you because
I don't think so. So
I watched that on Friday night and just loved every
it's
second of it.
47 minutes long. It was obviously somewhat contrived, but Harry pulls up to the Farmer's Dog pub, which, if anyone's seen Clarkson's Farm, you know all about it. And someone said, if this was on, this would never make it to television. It's too dry. It's two old men, pretty much in one take, just talking about cars. And I love it. And this is why YouTube has, like, who needs telly when YouTube gives, it would never be on TV like that.
No, no. And what was interesting in it was that, they were speaking about things like when was peak car and when was, Clarkson was talking about his F Type and the fact that, it doesn't have any, crazy systems in it, and it doesn't bing or bong, and, it doesn't have a boot, but you don't need any boot because you don't need to bring any other stuff with you. And, but yeah, it's of a time that we're not going to see again.
Yeah.
And it's explaining, Clarkson was explaining, why he doesn't like EVs, and and it wasn't irrational. It was just like, this is my standpoint. I just don't like them because they don't give you any feeling. And
Yeah.
that's, that for him is everything.
But, and look, obviously they're two huge names. Someone said as well, one of the comments, Harry's the only guy who wouldn't put Jeremy Clarkson's name in the title of the video, which is like the opposite of clickbait. But you still watch it. But
Yeah.
that just shows you, people maybe aren't getting served for car stuff as much on telly anymore, and they don't need it anyway because they have YouTube. And I suppose that's what's so great about the platform. There's room for new car reviews, but there's also maybe room to just have a little bit of faith. And if you're a bit of a storyteller, I've no doubt if you and I collected two old cars and we made a video, people would watch it. But when you're very used to doing one type on your own, and then you're talking about the new Nissan Micra, and next week you're doing a video on an S2000. They are very different audiences, you would think, but maybe the algorithm will find both people. I don't know, but
And for when you're starting off, can it be disheartening? Because obviously everyone starts at zero.
yeah, it's the first. So you can't monetize it till 1,000 subscribers. Then you're chasing 10,000. 10,000 feels amazing. Then you want 20. And now I'm just like, I'm heading for 60,000, and 100,000 will never come soon enough, because in the background of this video, of course, I will have a YouTube play button if that ever happens. But that could take 6 or 7 years. I don't know. Interestingly, again, it tells you everything. The Porsche video got me more subscribers in the last few months than any other car video. And obviously people want to know what happens next. What's the outcome there?
But it's funny because if you were living in Dallas rather than Dublin, those numbers probably would have come a long time ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like, I know some of the UK guys fairly well at this stage, and some of them started at the same time as me. And even Tish, who was on the podcast a little
Yeah,
while ago, like her channel is growing a little bit faster. And look, it's fine. It's not all about subscribers, but they have a bigger market. It's like, if you're a musician in Ireland and you want to make it, you at least go to London. There's probably a bit of truth in that for YouTubers as well, but I'm not going to uproot my family to move to
and
the
is
UK.
there, is there a tendency for people to want content that's much more snappy, or is it a case that for people who are coming to watch videos like yours, that they're there for the whole lot? I know that retention is a tricky part, and people's attention spans are shrinking.
Yeah, and again, interestingly, EVs will actually get you more watch time on a video. Most EVs, particularly if it's a
Right.
new, if it's a new one. Now, similarly, the Porsche did, because it's a beginning, middle, and end story, and that's very important for me to remember as well sometimes. And it's hard, maybe in a review of a car, doesn't matter what it is, a new car, to have a beginning, middle, and end, because you're more just going through the motions, for want of a better description. Here's the car you're considering, and here's what I do and don't like about it. So watch time is, again, it's another tricky one. It's like, how do you achieve that with different cars all the time? I don't know. I don't have a
Magic wand for that one.
one size answer. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So the future, I mean, look, the future for the chat for you, obviously, you might look at a little bit more of used stuff. You might do a few more retro cars.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I remember speaking to a couple of insurance companies, and actually, in fairness, when you were in AA, you sponsored a couple of videos. But I would, yeah, a sponsor that doesn't interfere. Not that the brand wouldn't ask for things, but it doesn't clash with reviewing cars independently would be amazing. It would help it tick over. So that would be great. I also did realize, so I did a video a little while ago, because revenue has been tricky for a lot of creators this year, not just cars, and people don't know, is it because of Trump, is it because of pending recessions, who really knows? But I did notice a few weeks ago that, and I didn't do this because I have no morals when it comes to advertising on my channel, there was two topics ticked that weren't monetized. So alcohol and betting companies were X'd on my channel. And I don't know if that's a default setting for everybody, but as soon as I unticked them and did the Porsche video, the ad revenue has come pretty much back to what it was. And
not being cars brought to you by Guinness and Betfair. Yeah,
Paddy Power.
Exactly.
And look, they are both areas that would be, would trigger people and stuff, and I do get that. They're currently, you can advertise, and a lot of these industries have been shunned from TV and particularly radio. They still want to advertise, and suddenly there's social media going, well, we'll take your money.
Yeah, but like Guinness Zero, Carlsberg Zero, Heineken Zero, people, these are aimed at drivers. But,
yeah.
So there's no, I wouldn't see any issue in not being cars being sponsored by Guinness Zero. I'm sure you wouldn't either,
Well, it might be a bit. I don't know. What's the word? Jutting? No, not jutting. But anyway, yeah. But look,
cross that bridge when you come to it.
Yeah, it's it is fun. You're getting to. It doesn't really feel like work. You're getting to do your passion and create videos out of it. So yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, and it's, look, as someone who's been in and around it for quite a long time, it's addictive, and you do want to come back to it a lot. And for anyone who does want to try it, they should. It's not always as glamorous as it seems. The early starts, the
early
finding
flights.
the finding things to say about incredibly dull cars. But look, obviously it beats sitting staring at Excel all day.
You personally have a knack of, like, your Polestar 4 video you did. You were able to, you didn't rush it, but you reviewed a Polestar in about 5.5 minutes on Done Deal. So people should go and have a look at that video if you are thinking about getting into this game. Like,
I'm concise. Yeah.
Some people do 28-minute videos, and there absolutely is room for that as well. I would love to see the watch time on that, because I think people will skim through and find out particular bits. Maybe some people will watch all 28 minutes. I don't know. But there's lots of scope for people out there. But I would definitely lean on a mix of quirky stuff if I was starting today.
Yeah, and look, the advice I always gave people starting off is, if you're looking for cars to review and you're talking to manufacturers, ask them for the shittiest car they have and the one they can't sell. because
Yeah.
don't go in and say, "Oh, can I have your Golf or?" Ask them for their their polo match or whatever equivalent is that isn't selling, because that's you're more likely to get handed the keys of that than you are to anything else. And
Absolutely.
once you do that, and plus the other thing is, if you can review a Kia Picanto thoroughly, you can review anything.
It's totally true. And lots of Skodas. Just ask for Skodas; they will help. But I did actually saw Tish replying to someone about this as well. Like, how hard is it to get press cars if you're a randomer? And she said, well, if you pitch them an idea rather than just, hey, can I have a press car to do a review?
Yeah.
Come together with some plan. Use AI to come up with a plan because it would help you. I actually used AI to help me script the video, and I don't really do scripts. And the radio side of things helps me with that. But I did one for the Porsche video, and it's interesting to see again. Maybe that would have done well anyway, but it helped me with the whole beginning, middle, and end. So don't be afraid to embrace technology. You're still going to put your own stamp on it. It still has to be you as well.
I was messing around today and created an AI version of myself, which was terrifying.
AI Paddy.
So, AI Paddy, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to maybe make myself out of my own job.
Yeah. On the next episode, I think we might talk about this. Is it ever acceptable for the dealer or whoever's working on your car to bring it home for the night? Yeah.
This sounds like it might have happened to you, right?
It did happen to. It happened with our area when it needed a new bumper because some old deer crashed into the back of it, and they first of all turned off the location setting in the car, where on the app you could see where the car is. And when my wife queried this, they were like, "Well, why do you need it on?" And I was like, she said, "Well, why do you need to turn it off?" And then she said, like, I can see my car is in such and such. Oh, well, we had to bring it home to overnight to test it. And she was like, but it's a bumper that needed to be painted. And then I was talking to Leah, a colleague of ours, who her Alpha was kind of brought home for the night, and she noticed the mileage was different on it. And yeah, like, it does happen. It does happen.
Right. Well, we'll deal with that. We might find out the legalities or otherwise of that for next week.
And feel free to drop us an email, driverspublicpodcast@gmail.com, if it has ever happened to you. And was there a justified, like, I don't know, if they're looking for an engine misfire, you might say, okay, I brought it home to test that.
100%. But a painted bumper?
Come on now. Bit of a strange one. Anyway, this has been the Drivers Republic podcast, well into season 3. Thank you for your support, for sharing it, for telling people about it. Brought to you in association with Dundeel Cars, with Ireland's widest selection of cars for sale from certified trusted dealers. The right car for you is on dundeel.ie.
See you next time.
Sayonara.